Do you want the good, the bad, or the ugly?
I think this is a podcast, as we say, that all in between.
Then I'll give you the unplugged story.
Please do.
Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Star Media Group Andreas Vogiatzakis meletak jawatan setelah 9 bulan memegang jawatan itu.
I left my position as Group CEO of the Star Media Group in mid-2020. So that was smack in the middle of the pandemic. I was the first expat, the first non-Chinese, the first non-editorial, so the first non-anything. When I left to find another job. So the truth of the matter is, honest to God, is that I could not find a job. Who would hire a highly expensive CEO who is at that level? Nobody. During that time.
I think I tried, but again, couldn't afford you.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the bills are running and everything else, and so I had to pivot. I'm a certified coach for many, many years, more than 13 years. And so I thought, okay, let's try this. Why don't we do our own thing? This phone of mine has 5,000-6,000 contacts. Half of them will read it. Half of the half will reply. Half of the half will say, yeah, I'm interested. And half of the half, maybe they'll give me something to do. So, hey, I can survive. Guess what happened?
Ooh, a good idea.
Welcome to Marketing Mavericks, a light-hearted Friday afternoon chat with a wide variety of unique individuals to see what makes them tick and how they aim to get ahead in the diverse world of marketing. I'm Kretser, founder and CEO of Go Communications, and I look forward to sharing your company with a very, very special guest that we have for you here today. For this session, I'm pleased to introduce my great mate, an ASEAN media legend, doyen, Andreas Vogiatzakis, or affectionately known to many as AV. AV, lovely to have you with us here today, brother.
Thank you, brother.
How have you been
keeping? Thank you very much. Absolutely.
Always a pleasure.
Always good, always positive, always in a growth mindset, and that's a choice, so I'm good.
Excellent. Well, no one better than your good self to get the ball rolling.
Fantastic.
I think also no better place to start than the AV journey. And what we mean by that is, how you landed on Malaysian shores, which you now call home, I believe.
Yes.
Just take us very quickly through your journey and how you've come to be to where you are at today.
The word quickly is the key word. So
not easy to do.
Yes, not easy to do. Well, you're right. This is home, and it's a home by choice. I love it. I fell in love with it about 19 years ago, and that love grows by the day for many different reasons. I'm a kampong boy. I'm a village boy. I was born and raised in a small village in the island of Crete in Greece. Don't imagine that blue and white stuff that they tell you. It wasn't like that.
Right.
It was a hard life. I was born in 1966, so now you know my age.
35.
Exactly. I'm Benjamin Button incarnation.
There you go.
And so I had 3 loves in my life. The first one grounded me when I was 12, and that was a pivotal year when my dad died and mathematics came into my life. I fell in love with it because it made sense. And that took me to the Mathematics University of Athens, which was the most prestigious school. I say that story for a reason.
Right.
When I went in, after 6 years of studying in high school, math all the way, I fell out of love with it instantly because the whole journey was just done. I did what I wanted to do. I was 18, I was an adult, I could take my own choices, or so I thought. And so I quit math because I discovered the second love of my life, and that was advertising. And so I summoned the courage to tell my family that I'm going to quit math, which I had done for 3 years, but they didn't know.
Right.
And I started advertising in the States, and that brought me to my first job in New York.
That's
back in
almost,
1992.
if I can really interject, almost an Asian mindset, right? Because
yes.
most kids throughout Asia, they aim to become doctors, and
Correct.
parents are pressurizing them to become
That's right.
lawyers and all that sort of stuff. So it was almost innate.
Correct.
In terms of where you went.
In 1987, if you would say, I'm going to study marketing and advertising, everybody was like, what?
There you go.
Yeah. So apparently I established the name of myself, the good, the bad, and the ugly in New York. So fast forward to 1997, they asked me to come to Asia to establish MediaVest. That was the media arm of that company I used to work in New York, DMB&B, that doesn't exist today.
Sure.
We're talking about a long time ago. And so, just out of divine intervention, I came to Asia in 1997, in Japan. Have never eaten sushi before in my life. I thought, I'm Greek, so I grill the fish and I put olive oil and oregano and lemon, We don't eat it raw.
That's it.
And here I am in Japan eating sushi and loving it. And the journey to Asia started, which turned into a love affair. I spent 5 years in Japan, 5 years in Taiwan, and finally came to my senses through, again, divine intervention. I came to Malaysia in 2006, right. And I thought, this is home. And I stayed here for good. And I never left, and I never will. And if you don't like me, too bad. I'm here to stay.
That's it. Mate, I mean, as we sort of talk and have a bit of a dialogue, right? And just before we jump into any sort of great detail in terms of what you're up to at the minute, being marketing Mavericks, and, our podcast is all about sort of trying to spur on the industry, inspire and tell. Is there a story that your journey's taken you, whether it be New York, Japan, Malaysia, and all these great cities, countries, experience? Is there one sort of classic that kind of stands out in your mind where you go, holy shit, or wow, that was something that really changed the game, and, from a client perspective or even internally, something that just rings in your mind even till today?
So, the first one dates back to about 19 years ago. So I watched that brand evolve in the last 19 years. The second one that I'm going to use dates back approximately 30 years ago. And I watched that brand evolve for the last 30 years in Asia and globally.
Sure.
The first one evolved in Asia, basically. And so I clearly remember I met this man, an incredible individual, legend, an absolute legend. He's the one, I think you know him. He's the one who managed to put the Singapore girl in Madame Tussauds office. I know I'm not allowed to say that, but who cares? You said I'm plugged, I'm following your rules.
Right.
And so it was the one and only Michael de Kretser.
Well, that's very kind of you to
whom
say.
you know very well. And I watched this man. I
didn't expect that, by the way.
I met his son, and I saw them building a business through the thick and thin, through going against all odds. And that's not an easy feat. So when you talk about not only marketing, but about entrepreneurship, about taking the positive of the negative that life gives you and twisting it around and making something stunning and amazing out of it, locally and regionally, creating relationships, building brands, then what else do you really want? And for anyone who knows the Go story, would, I know, not argue or disagree with me, but they will agree 101%, because that's it. So Michael built the business, he built partnerships, he built brands. You are his son, and you were part of it, and I know you for all that time. And that was, to me, one amazing story, because when we say brands, we tend to think about brands as brands, the FMCGs, the airlines, the cars, the whatever. From a commercial perspective. And we tend to forget that we are brands. And we built ourselves as brands, and that has all the challenges that brand building has for any commercial brand. And so the story of Go is incredible. For any one of you that you don't know the story, ask this man to get you a copy of the Go For It book from Michael, the late Michael legend, de Kretser, and you will see what that really means. Writing business plans on the back of a napkin and making meetings in any restaurant and bar in the city and the region, and building up business that are robust and they last. This is a testament to it, right? And I know he's watching from up there. So that's the 19-year story that at least I know.
Well, probably a good segue, because you've now taken the plunge into entrepreneurship, and
yes.
After your terrific career and history, you're starting your own business. I mean, I think fair to say for years and years you're always working in companies and for other people, which can be an incredibly daunting and scary challenge, right?
Yes, it is.
To jump into it. So, I mean, tell us a bit about what you're up to now, how that came to be, and maybe some insight for aspiring entrepreneurs that want to sort of do their own thing as well.
Do you want the good, the bad, or the ugly?
I think this is a podcast, as we say, that all in between.
Okay. Then I'll give you the unplugged story.
Please do.
Because you like that.
That's it.
I left my position as Group CEO of the Star Media Group in mid-2020. So that was smack in the middle of the pandemic. A lot of people ask me that question, so I will spare you the question, I'll give you the answer.
Sure.
I left because my job was done, as far as I concerned that to be. And I also left because I thought I need to stay true to what my principles were. And therefore, that was for me the right decision. It was a very, very difficult decision. However, it was the right decision. And I never regretted it. Would I go back in time and do the same thing all over again? Yes, I would. My time at the Star was just monumentally beautiful, absolutely, from every aspect. Just serving an institution that shaped the country I'm in love with, that was to me the highest honor. And by the way, it paid good, so okay.
That's a big factor for many people. But also, correct me if I'm wrong, you were the first so-called expat, right? Even though you'd been here a long time to be put in that position, which is quite an accolade
the first,
in itself.
Whatever you want to call it, but that was the first expat, the first non-Chinese, the first non-editorial, so the first non-anything to be in that position, and I hope I served it well. The people can judge. Now, when I left to find another job. And that was in the middle of 2020, in the middle of the pandemic. Things were not looking good. And so the truth of the matter is, honest to God, is that I could not find a job. Who would hire a highly expensive CEO who is at that level? Nobody. During that time.
I think I tried, but again, couldn't afford you.
Yeah. And so I scraped bottom a couple of times. It was a tough time. It was a very difficult time for my personal life at that time, for many different reasons, as you know. And professionally, it was difficult to land a job. Meanwhile, the bills are running and everything else. And so I had to pivot. I had to feed myself my own gospel and walk the talk, finally. And so I said, okay, you need to change. You need to find different avenues of what to do. I'm a certified coach for many, many years, more than 13 years, professional coach. And so I love NLP. I love bringing about change in people and transformation. And that was real in all my life. So I thought, okay, let's try this. Why don't we do our own thing and talk about training, coaching, and see how that goes? It's something. We can give it a shot, right? So I had two options, either to quit life, that is, yes, it happens to everybody, twice, or do something that will carry you further, because you know what, if you choose option one, to quit life, then what do you have to lose if you try option two? And that is the unplugged truth of what happened in 2020. I had lunch with a friend, and he was telling me about how he registered his own company, a digital company.
Right.
And I thought, you know, Evie, the hell with you. You can do the same thing. So cut the crap and do it now. Do it next week. So I punched myself in the face real hard and I said, you know, cut all this BS about quitting life and blah, 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 all that misery and complaining and, you know, everybody's fault but yours. And either you can be at the cause or you can be at the effect. If you are at the effect, you complain about everything and you're a miserable piece of S. If you're at the cause, then you start becoming in charge of what's going to happen to you, and at least you call the shots. You don't know the outcome, but hey, you do that. And that also slowly answers the second part of your question, which I do remember. And so I said, okay, cut the BS, go to the registrar, register the company, you have a name already, EMV Plus name, and get onto the business. What do you have to lose? So I did. And I will never forget the day that I received the piece of paper that was the registration of the company. It was August 10, 2020, monumental day, 10/8/2020, beautiful.
Not far from Merdeka either.
Exactly. And so I opened doors. And I sent an email and an SMS to everything. And for all the aspiring entrepreneurs that are and to be, pay attention and keep notes. I thought, you know, in my little brain that wow, you know, this phone of mine has 6,000 contacts. So I thought, I did the math, I'm a failed dropout mathematician, but hey, I can put 1 + 1 to make 3. Is that correct? I think it is. Yeah. So I said, I have all these contacts. Half of them will read it. Half of the half will reply. Half of the half will say, yeah, I'm interested. And half of the half, maybe they'll give me something to do. So, hey, I can survive. Talking about this high-flying CEO in the region thinking like that. Yes, life is giving you twists and turns to become stronger. Guess what happened?
Tell us.
Nothing. And so I was sitting on nothing for a while. Meanwhile, the bills are running, the whole thing is going crazy, and I'm thinking, should I have quit life? Was this the right decision? And then it comes to this realization, and this is very real. My beautiful good friend Eleni and my first NLP teacher who's up there and watching said to me once, when you share from the scar, not the wound. The wound bleeds, the scar has wisdom. And so that's what I'm doing now, because I couldn't say the same story a couple of years back. It was too painful. And it all happened. And here's the thing, you believe. Because if you believe, even what you believe is not real yet, it will become. So we become what we believe. And I thought, walk the talk again, AV. Walk the talk. So it's very hard to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, cut the BS.
But I'm going to stop you there because
You do.
someone in your position, right? I mean, if you were looking from the outside
Yeah.
in, I know there's an old adage that many profess, you hold the seat, not necessarily the position.
Correct.
But surely with the network and all that, I mean, what, and this can be maybe a slightly contentious question to many out there, right? If you're not getting something from somebody where it's willing buyer, willing seller, or there's something in it for them or you, when you've done great things and you've proven yourself, you've got a track record of 25, 30 years, you've been around the region, and then you do open up the Rolodex, and then you make the calls or you send the email, the SMS, and there's kind of a blank. That's somewhat interesting, right? And I think a lot of people they need to go through that in order to understand, because I think a lot of people live in that prism of when you're there, and it's a nice seat to hold. But isn't it just entirely interesting that the moment you're in your shorts and boxer short socks on, eating crisps on the couch, who are you?
That's right.
Apart from yourself.
Well, number one, you learn how to eat humble pie.
Sure.
But it's not really the humble pie. What really is that what you're eating yourself. And you eat a piece of who are you. And you start realizing what are your beliefs, how do you conduct yourself. You see, we hold a lot of that stuff in our head and we have expectations. I read a book called The Holocaust of Attachment, and we get attached to everything, and that becomes a ball and chain, ideas, beliefs, whatever, and expectations. And so the thing is that NLP has changed my life, and I think that the profound change really came in the last 2-3 years. And I'm not the same person I used to be, and I say that very proudly. When you don't have expectations, not with bitterness, but with the belief that people have good intentions, no matter what they do, then you forgive, because it doesn't really matter.
Right.
So everybody does things on what is going to suit their own good purpose for themselves, and that's okay. I used to be very different. I used to be very angry. Still I am, because it's the shadow, right? So it wobbles and you're not always in sync with it.
Sure.
And so sometimes, that anger, frustration comes out. It's like, oh, why don't they reply to my note, to my email, hey. And then I pull back. It's not, your issue is not their issue.
And you can't control what
And you cannot
can't
control. So you only control yourself. You see, we tend to react, and we shouldn't react, we should respond. There's a big difference to that. But that comes with self-awareness and with that realization. And so I think, again, by divine intervention, because this is the third love of my life. The first was math, the second was advertising. And
I thought the third love was Mary.
what
happened to she?
She's very upset. I love what I do.
We'll leave that out of the text.
Yeah, that's right. And the universe had a plan and said, you know what? Come here, come closer, closer. Bah, bah. Shut up. You're nothing. And you're everything. And you're abundant. Now, focus on you. Change yourself, figure out what to do it well, and let it speak. That's difficult, brother.
Yeah.
That is tough and difficult because no matter if I'm a nice person or a bad person, whatever, you are a high-flying CEO and you manage companies and you this and you that and the other and you leave this position from the Star Media Group and it's, all that power. Sometimes, no matter who you are and no matter how humble you are, all that fame and power and all that could get to your head. And then the universe says, no, I'm going to pin you down and ground you.
No doubt.
And he did it.
But that's a human trait, right?
Yeah,
because everyone's got an ego, so to speak.
Of course. And that's good. It's not a bad thing.
But to find that equilibrium or that balance can't be easy.
Correct.
Right?
And so that's what it did. And so I thought, okay, keep at it, keep on believing. Focus on the positive, focus on what you want to do. There was this good old friend of mine that when I sent my first email, said, whoa, I can do all of these things. Wow, that hurt like a knife right here. Wow, twist. And I said, okay, you have a choice. Either you will let that get to you and it will prevent you and make you shy and go, I'm an introvert, by the way, so that was very natural for me. Or you will say, yes, I can. So I chose the second one. So everything is a choice. So I said, just keep at it. And finally, breakthroughs came along the way. The first proper training that I did myself, 100%, full day, all by myself, because we did some engagements together, as you remember. But the proper one that I did from A to Z, all by myself, came in December. From August to December, practically nothing. And it can take longer. And so here it is for the second part of your question. Believe, number one. Never, ever lose your faith. Keep your faith intact no matter what happens. The universe has a reason. You try your best, you push hard, you exhaust everything, and after that, you leave yourself to the universe. The universe has a reason and a way. And when you try to fight things that you cannot fight, nothing happens. So
I'm going to be slightly controversial with that. Because
of course,
I was in karma,
yes,
but you make it happen for yourself, right? I mean, no doubt, destiny is destiny and all that type of stuff. But you can't leave it to fate, feng shui, luck, and everything to chart your course. I mean, there's got to be the hustle, the strat, the brains in terms of how you're going to make it work.
Yes, I don't say just sit, do nothing, and say the universe is going to take care of me. My mom used to tell me this awesome story about the man who was drowning, right? And he gets in the top of his roof, and he was a very pious man. He believed in God, and he was praying to God, and God would save me. And a boat came by as the flood was rising. He said, come, jump in. He said, no, I'm praying to God, he'll save me. And they left, and a tree trunk came by. He saw it, he didn't jump on it, God will save me. So finally he drowned and died, went to heaven and saw God, and he was really, really upset. And he said, God, I don't get it. I pray to you, I believe in you, I'm drowning, you don't save me. He said, well, what do you want me to do? I send you a boat, you didn't take it. I send you a tree trunk, you didn't grab it. So meaning we do everything we can, and we need to determine and understand when we need to stop, not push further. Let it happen. And I think that is something that you develop along the way, and I practice it now. Because I'm a fighter. I've been a fighter all my life, and I cannot take no for an answer. And I'm hard, and I'm pushing, and I need my way, but I learned the hard way. And now I'm just different.
Hi guys, a brief interlude during this fiery chat, just to bring your attention to an incredibly worthwhile cause in Hospices Malaysia, an institution that we work very closely with here at Go. You can find the contact information probably here below and the website, just to bring attention and awareness to a terrific organisation and to see if you can help in any way you can. So thanks for listening. Okay mate, let me change gears a little bit. You mentioned awards, and I know this is going to sound like an oxymoron because we've got a whole bunch of awards
I think you need more shells, by the
behind
way.
us.
Yeah.
And again,
And I love
I
it.
maintain it's not a testament to the be-all and end-all of everything. In fact, the reason we do it is, again, credibility building. It's nice for the guys to get recognized for their work.
Of course.
But let me ask you maybe a little bit of a deeper question. There are a lot of award shows coming to the market, a lot of players sort of taking part. Again, with your history, there seems to be more winners, more everything. I mean, are we starting to get to the point where there is any validation with certain awards? Are we sort of saying that this is a necessity on the other side, that you need to pick it up because you get the notoriety and rise from it? Where is the award landscape? I mean, with Malaysia, I think we've probably got, dare I say, 5,000 or 500, maybe slight exaggeration, award shows in different categories.
Yeah, a lot.
Where do we sort of sit with that? And I know many people in the market, CEOs that I've spoken to, have different prerogatives or mindsets. Where do you sit on that particular issue?
I think the awards are a good thing. I also think that the awards can be a bad thing, depending on what awards are there. There are awards that they give you a merit. There are awards that you have to pay to be included in the consideration. And there are awards that you can buy, for real. We all know that, so I cannot hide behind my finger, right?
Well, you want a few yourself.
And so, yeah, unless I become too skinny. I go to the gym every day, I try. So, you want to buy an award? Go buy an award. So that's going to stroke your ego and you are just fooling yourself through your teeth. I think awards overall are good. Yes, there are too many because it's also it's a business. And so the more categories I will put, the more entrants I will get, the more money I will get. And that's straightforward. However, you can win all the awards you want. And I would suggest, which I know you do, you are selective on where do you go. Is there validation to these awards? What's the award jury and all that kind of stuff,
Well,
right?
I would say, I mean, being a marketing, so the way we look at it internally is, I treat it as a marketing expenditure.
Yes, that's right.
So,
yes.
I mean, being in the industry itself, right, we have different, obviously social media, different ways we can promote ourselves, not necessarily all the time through the traditional media or anything like that, but so that's kind of my mindset in terms of, obviously we need to get out to the wider audience, as you were saying earlier, with different businesses. So we see it as more of a marketing budget. And there is some validity to that and some naysayers and all that.
No, I think there is a lot of validity to that, and I think that's a good thing, right? And I also think that in many cases, it becomes a better thing internally rather than externally.
Sure.
Like, the client is not going to go and say, let me see that one. What does it say there? What does it say there? What's this one? What's that one? They just see stuff. Oh, okay, lots of stuff. Now, if you add more things and cubes there, will the client start counting? No, they won't, right? You're already there. I think internally, it becomes a fantastic opportunity to celebrate, because people throw through the tears and the laughter and the sweats and everything else to really produce good work that will lead you there. And I'm pretty sure the jury who gives you this, it's not going to say, you know, oh, wow, this was crappy work, but we're going to give you the award. So there is merit to that. So internally is a wonderful opportunity to celebrate, and that does good to the culture, the morale, and everything else. Now, what happens the day after? So the champagnes are popped, all the drinks are drunk, all the food is eaten,
bottles are rusty.
bowls are rusty, and next morning you wake up with a slight headache. Now what? And it goes back to the work. So do you stay true to the work that you do that will deliver the results to your clients, that will make them happy? Because I tell you, you can win a billion, gazillion awards. The work doesn't deliver to the client, you're fired the next day. They don't give a hoot if you have 30, 40, or 1,000 awards on the shelf.
I think you bring up a good point. I mean, just in terms of internal camaraderie and feel-good factor and culture, which is, yes, certainly part of it. And I think that's
builds culture,
super
for
important.
sure.
But I would say, I mean, don't want to give my age away. I know you're 35 and me only being 34. I remember that a lot of the networks, they would actually hire CEOs, MDs, and that would be in their KPIs. For example, you need to hit your financial return, et cetera. But part of that KPI would be, 5 or 6 awards that you need to win. I don't care how you do it, get it done. Where is the temerity, honesty, in that, because like you said, you can go out and buy it or you can do it, but I'm not sure whether that's still
It's
the
still there.
similar situation today with some of the larger, I mean, being an independent myself, it's not how we look at it.
No, it's still
but
there.
it could be certainly a KPI for many of the big networks.
It's still there. It's not a bad thing.
Right.
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
If that would be the ultimate goal, it's not a good thing. I think if it's, oh, and by the way, put a cherry on top, I think that's a good thing.
Sure.
Because it pushes people to see it in a different way. Now, like I said, you can go and buy awards. There are many.
Yes,
Pay money, and you get a table, and you get your award.
that's right.
And it's in your category. Let me make a category that fits your category. And you know, there are that kind of stuff too. To me, then you look back into you as a person. That's why I said you cannot have a value about integrity in yourself but not in the business you run. So what do you want? How do you want to play your game? When you go to bed at night, is your conscience clear? Do you know that you have done the best you can do and to the best of your ability, honestly, when nobody's looking? It's just you. I think that's it. Are awards good? Yeah, they're fantastic. Why not? I'll go for it. You know, I still haven't done it. You know, there are many awards that I could apply for.
That
you
are
know,
specific
best,
to your industry.
yeah, best coach award, best book award, best this award, best the other award. I haven't done it because I'm busy building still what I built. I don't take it for granted. Have I done awards before? Hell yeah. Were they good?
I've seen you on stage. Yeah.
Were they good? Oh my God. I mean, I remember two. And one was with OMD and PhD. And I have to tell you these two because they were just brilliant. And that one was for the Campaign magazine. And so we submit for OMD, we submit for PhD, Malaysia. And so we become finalists, both brands, under the same group, but still separate brands. And I'll never forget that night.
But somewhat competing each other for the top gong, right?
Correct. Okay. So here we go, and we get the finalists to that awards night. I know you will go to Singapore in a couple of weeks. And so there goes number 3, the bronze. It's not OMD, it's not PhD. There goes number 2, the silver. It's not OMD, it's not PhD. So there is like this, I mean, you could cut the air. So Barry, my boss at that time, CEO of APAC, of Omnicom Media Group, Barry Couples. Barry, if you listen to this is for you. And so he looks at me, he's like, okay. And there comes a drum roll for the gold. And the gold goes to, and so we're sitting on spikes. OMD, oh my gosh, rejoice. Yes, we got one and it's the gold, fantastic. Okay, PhD didn't get anything, never mind, it's okay. And the announcer says, but wait, this year we had a tie.
Oh, lovely.
And for the first time ever in the history of Campaign Magazine Awards, which never happened before and never happened again, so we have a tie and we have 2 golds.
It's brilliant.
And we look at the stage like frozen. And the announcer goes and says, and the second gold tie goes to PhD. OMG. And OMG, Omnicom Media Group, acquired a different level
I
at
hope
that
that
time.
became
It's
your
like,
hashtag
oh my
and your
gosh.
strapline. And
So that was one, and
Yeah.
it was just absolutely beautiful. The second one was with Havas. So we built the agency, we're 1 year on the go. And of course, after a year, you know me, I'm always gung-ho, right? And we did a good job and all of that. And we go against the titans. We're talking about the IPGs, the Omnicom Media Groups, the Group M's and the Mind Shares and all of that. And so Vishnu at that time, my boss, he said, really, you're going to apply? I'm like, why not? We have a great story to tell. We did it. Here are the results. It's all real. And you know, campaign awards, they are to the T, unbiased. So yeah, we'll apply. If we don't get it, that's okay, we learn. You build muscle. You don't go to the gym and you have a 6-pack on the first month. You build resilience.
I keep trying to tell myself that.
Yeah, I'm doing it now. So go for it. So I've done the write-up, the whole thing. So we go, we're shortlisted. So I'm like, see, we're shortlisted. To me, that was an award already. And we go in and we get a table in the awards show that was right at the end, at the exit.
Near the toilets.
Near the toilets. and Vishnu gets really unhappy. Not to
This
use
is your original boss, right?
Yes, not to use the P word. I'm like, boss, this is perfect. If we don't win anything, we chow like that and we go for drinks. If we win, we're gonna work slow, baby.
Right,
And we're gonna
in front of
go
all
all of them and just go the stage. Isn't that beautiful?
Why not?
We don't want the front table at the stage. It's gonna be a very short walk. Right enough to cut to the chase, we win the gold, and nobody could believe it. And Vishnu looks at me and he's like, for real? I'm like, walk with me, slow. That was the best walk of my life. It was better than walking on the aisle, I tell you that. Which actually I didn't do because I was waiting for the lady to walk the aisle. So yeah, it was just phenomenal. So
Yes.
did that build culture? Did that take us to a next level? Yes, it did. Is
There you
it
go.
important? Yes, it did. And again, back to the next day. What do you do the next day? Do you stay true to your principles, to your work? Do you compromise work because of that? Does the fame get into your head? Because it can.
Sure.
And where do you, like you rightly said, where do you keep that balance that will keep things where they should be? Motivate people, celebrate with people, but don't let this get into you. This is not it. The work is it. This is just a, by the way, we're doing good and we're going to celebrate. That's all. So the work, the work, the work, the work. Nothing else. And that's going to speak for itself. That's going to get you word of mouth. That's going to really be the best marketing you can do.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good way to sort of wrap that in a pack. The new generation and the new talent. I know you, over
Yeah.
the years that we've been friends, you spend a lot of time giving talks,
Yeah.
counselling, whether it be at universities, online seminars, and that type of thing. I mean, what are you seeing with the emerging talent in this industry or otherwise? I mean, obviously generational traits are coming to the fore, and you know, experts are generalizing on how Gen Ys, Gen Zs, millennials are sort of interacting and acting. What are you kind of seeing with young talent that's coming through, specifically in Malaysia?
Only brilliant things. I believe that. First of all, to the older ones who tend to complain about the young generation, stop complaining. It's our fault because they don't exist and happen out of the blue. We condition them to be who they are. So if they behave a certain way, we need to look in
But you, I mean,
ourselves.
playing devil's advocate, they're going to say the tech played a lot of that, and that wasn't
Who
their
developed
fault.
that? They developed tech and they adopt the soil.
Well, individually they're gonna
so
argue,
we can,
wasn't
we can argue about that. But
Right.
look first inside. Second, I see them changing. I see them more inquisitive. I see them more eager to make a difference. I see them more connected to the world, so they realize more and more that it's not about the Malaysian youth, it's about the global youth. Because now you compete in a global arena. Technology brought down barriers and borders and all that. I really don't care if you're Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, it doesn't matter anymore. What really matters is your flexibility, adaptability, and resilience. That's what matters. And these are the values that are going to really move you forward. Yes, you can be in your own cocoon and operate, but I see more and more the young generation understanding that. And so we have more international students here. You know, all the universities say, oh my God, I cannot get more students from Malaysia. Well, yeah, everybody's going for them and the market is complete. Well, unless more babies are made, you know, how many more Malaysian students you're going to have? So everybody's looking from outside. And that's beautiful because that has an influx of talent that makes that internationalization
So you
better.
don't subscribe to the sort of calling card from most, you know, in media or advertising that there is a dearth of talent in Malaysia. I mean, a lot of
No, there's no
people
dearth,
that I meet,
no.
a lot of people are saying, "Oh gosh, we can't find this person.
No,
the
it's
levels
just
are not
shifting.
necessarily there."
Yeah, I know.
You would subscribe to the fact that there is still an ample amount of talent in the marketplace that can.
Yeah, there is talent. What has shifted that I've seen is the needs and wants and the values and what they really want to get out of things.
Right.
COVID accentuated that because I think it made a lot of people reevaluate what do they want in life. They became more content with less as long as they would have the ability and the time to focus more on themselves. And so that changed things. Unfortunately, right now it's a very pressurized environment. So clients want more for less, but that's not new. It's, you know, this old adage, like, I want it good and cheap and fast, but you can choose only two at any time, right? But they want everything. And that doesn't go away. So I think talent is there. Unless people are dead, talent is there, and people are people, and people can learn, and people can create growth mindsets and not stagnant mindsets. It's just a matter of really finding that right combination and that right that fit.
Would you say it's harnessing the mindset?
Yeah, it is.
In many ways.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's why the work that I do gets more and more and more traction, because I think that once people become more self-aware from both sides, then I talk about generation gap a lot. What is really generation gap? Nothing. You know, every single human being, and you that you are watching or listening, if you're still here and you're not bored to death and went out for a drink, we all want the same thing. And what that is, if you peel that human onion, at the heart of it, and I say this with conviction, is happiness. I want to be happy. It's not the money, it's not the fame, it's not all that. Because we start understanding, I came here naked, I'll leave naked. I came with nothing, I'll leave with nothing. So what do I do in between? And so you cultivate your happiness. That's what we want. So all of the fame, money, all of that is supporting that. So when we agree on a higher purpose and we start distilling it down, then we find common ground. That's tough to do. It's easy to say, difficult to do. And I think there is, of course there is talent. There are people, they're not dead. They just want things differently, and we need to bridge that. And I think that pressure will happen more because it needs to adjust. And, you know, the companies are bleeding. They cannot find people who can do everything. They find people who can do what they want to do. That's not necessarily bad. So it's just that balance. So that will go for a while. But there is talent. And I say this because I do so much work with all the universities. Yes, you're right. I paid forward. That's something I believe in and I try to do very hard. I was just speaking at the University of Greenwich online the other day.
Right.
I do work with every university here in Malaysia. And I see the people. I see the students, I mean. They're bright. They're full of energy. They want the best in life. There is none of them that says, I don't really want to live. I'm just here. I don't know what I'm doing.
Or don't have aspirations.
No, they all want something.
Sure.
They have aspirations. They have energy. And so it's up to us to really harness it. Us meaning the employers and all that. Go get them. Go speak their language. Go nurture their mindset. And it goes both ways. They have a lot to give. They're there. And so it's up to us to go and find them. I see them every day.
No doubt. Well, Andreas, you know, the youth, I think, is probably a good place where we leave it today.
Yeah.
But can I just say thank you so much for coming on to Marketing Mavericks. It's been a real pleasure, mate. And I hope all of you guys take the advice and counsel and any dialogue to heart. But thanks so much and look forward to seeing your career take off and can't wait to see you again.
Thank you for having me.
All right,
I appreciate that.
Cheers, guys.
See you guys. Thank you.